This is the group project for Fire 105 at Miramar College going over a residential structure flashover in Illinois in 2010. The group members are Bailey Christian, Weston Garrett, and Ryan Pascal. On March 30th, 2010, a residential fire broke out in Illinois. Fire teams arrived to the scene and witnessed heavy fire conditions coming from the rear of the house while the rest of the house had mild smoke conditions. The victim, the injured firefighter, and a third firefighter made entry into the home with a charged 2.5-inch hose line. The search and rescue crew exited the home safely but then returned to rescue the injured firefighter and the victim. The victim was found wrapped in a 2.5-inch hose line that had ruptured. He was later taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. When entering a residential fire, it needs to be ensured that a complete 360-degree situational size-up is conducted where it is physically possible. Firefighters need to maintain crew integrity when operating on the fire ground, and officers need to have a sound understanding of fire behavior and the ability to recognize indicators of fire development and the potential for extreme fire behavior. Incident commanders and firefighters must understand the influence of ventilation on the fire behavior and effectively coordinate ventilation with suppression techniques to release smoke and heat. It must also be ensured that firefighters use their self-contained breathing apparatus and are trained in SCBA emergency procedures. The victim was a firefighter-paramedic who had completed training courses on technical rescue, incident command, hazardous materials, and had approximately 338 hours of documented training on topics such as SCBA, pre-plans, fire hose and nozzles, and firefighter survival, as well as emergency medical care. Fire behavior was not documented for any of his 515 hours of total training. The injured firefighter was working part-time and had over 971 hours of training for the previously mentioned topics. Her training on fire behavior only accounted for 12 of her total 971 hours. The incident commander had been with the department for approximately 19 years and had 5 total years of experience working as an incident commander. Fire behavior only accounted for 12 of his total 3,830 hours of training. The first new fire department was Engine 534, with a lieutenant, a firefighter, and an engineer. Engine 534 was equipped with a 1,500 gallon per minute pump and contained 750 gallons of tank water. Ambulance 564 of the same department also arrived with 2 firefighter paramedics, the victim and the injured firefighter. There were 4 total auto aid departments that arrived on scene, as well as a second ambulance, Ambulance 2101, when the crew of Ambulance 564 was incapacitated. This is an image of the front door of the house, which is referred to as the A side in the diagrams, and this diagram here shows the hose line that was deployed to A side. The structure was a single-family, one-story house of Type 5 wood that was built in 1951. A 2-car garage also made of Type 5 wood frame construction was located at the rear of the house and was connected by an additional family room which was added to the house at some point after its initial construction. There was no recorded permit for this addition. The fire is believed to have originated within the addition, but an official cause has not been determined. Fuel sources for the fire included polyethylene foam padding, upholstered furniture, a motor vehicle within the garage, and other combustible materials. The weather was clear with an approximate temperature of 53 degrees Fahrenheit, and fire personnel at the incident stated that wind was not a factor in the growth of the fire. This diagram here shows the additional family room that was connected to the house and the 2-car garage. Officers on scene told incoming firefighters that there was still a paralyzed subject on oxygen trapped inside the residence. After the first team gained entry, a second team involving a firefighter, followed by the injured firefighter and the victim, made entry at the front of the house. The first crew made it to the front bedroom on the D side when they felt the heat intensify in the hallway and a rollover occur at the end of the hallway coming toward them. They quickly turned, headed back into the living room looking for the hose line so they could find their way out, and yelled to the hose line crew to get out. The soon-to-be injured firefighter then yelled to the victim that they needed to leave but got no response. When she was trying to leave, she made it 4 feet from the door when her gear melted and firefighters outside had to drag her out. When they went back looking for the victim, they eventually found him with no mask and no hood. His mask was still connected to the regulator, but it wasn't on his face. He later went into respiratory arrest and lost a pulse on the scene. These three diagrams show the progression of the fire from when the initial team first made entry all the way up to the point where rollover occurs, showing where the victim and the injured firefighter were at that point. There was a horizontal flow of thick black smoke coming from the windows, which is characteristic of being under extreme pressure. The C-side window then began venting. It is unknown if this window failed or was manually vented. Flashover then occurs and fire can be seen blowing out of the D-side window that was vented. These diagrams here show the horizontal columns of black smoke being ejected from the house, as well as flames being ejected from the D-side window at the point of flashover. Some of the contributing factors for this incident were an incomplete 360-degree situational size-up, ineffective fire control tactics, failure to recognize, understand, and react to deteriorating conditions, and removal of self-contained breathing apparatus, as well as many others. According to the autopsy report, the victim died from carbon monoxide intoxication due to inhalation of smoke and soot from the house fire. The carboxyhemoglobin level for the victim was nearly 30%. The injured firefighter's paramedic received second and third degree burns to her lower back and right wrist. One recommendation for this incident is that fire departments should ensure that a complete 360-degree situational size-up is conducted on dwelling fires and others where it is physically possible, and ensure that a risk versus gain analysis and a survivability profile for trapped occupants is conducted prior to committing to interior firefighting operations. Another recommendation is that fire departments should ensure that firefighters have an understanding of fire behavior and have the ability to recognize indicators of fire development and the potential for extreme fire behavior.